Hey, it's Katie here again from becomeagroupguru.com. So today is a day of tech difficulties. I'm going to go ahead and invite Audrey on the screen and see if it works now that I am live. Thank you guys for bearing with us because this has been a frustrating process for us as we're trying to set it up for you and give you this awesome value, but I'm sure frustrating for all of you who are taking the time to try and be here with us and learn from us. And it looks like it is working now. So maybe that was the secret. All right. So Audrey is an awesome therapist and she actually runs several groups. She's accepting and connecting on screen now. So we'll see her in a minute. She runs a stand-up tween girls group, which is interesting because Lynn was just talking about how she is not doing a tween group. So Audrey actually does run one. And she also runs DT groups, which I know a lot of us here do. So she will be talking first and foremost about the stand-up tween girls group and then answering any DBT group questions as well. But we have a couple therapists who are coming on to talk about that. So that won't be our main focus for today unless you guys have questions about it. So she should be here any second. It looks like she's getting ready and getting set up and on screen. If you have questions about any kinds of groups, feel free to go ahead and ask them in the Ask a Question spot. You'll see below the video in the bottom left corner, it says Ask a Question. I will also remind you that we're doing 20 days of free group activities and inspiration with all of you being involved in the process. And this is part of me celebrating having had a continuing education course that's been up and running for 1 year, which is tons and tons of group activities, the group screening process, the group intake process, as well as the bonus of everything that I did in my summer camp. So that is up and available until October 20th. And if it's something that you're interested in checking out, go ahead and click this green button at the bottom right that says Get 6 CE credits in group activities, because it will only be available for the next, what's today, the 2nd or the 3rd, until the 20th. It will be available for purchase until the 20th. So let me check in and see what's going on with Audrey. It looks like she's still accepted and connecting. Audrey, give us a heads up on what's going on your end so we know what to expect from you. And I'm going to share a little bit more about what it is you shared with us. And then hopefully you can fill us in on the details. So I'll be referencing my notes as I talk to you guys. Okay. Audrey is from Beaches Therapy and she runs 3 DB. It's having camera issues. Can you be here like in voice if you can't be here in camera? Yes. Okay. Let us hear your voice. At least I don't know. Let me try and invite you again. Okay. So Audrey runs 3 groups. She runs a tween group as well as DBT groups. All right. So I invited you on the screen. She's going to share with us a group activity about how to use skills and how to be non-judgmental. And she's going to share some of her tips around being flexible, rolling with it when group doesn't end up exactly how you want it to, much like our group therapy gala today, right, is having some complications. So we'll figure those things out and how to be playful and really make authentic connections with your group members. So some of the ideas that Audrey will share with us around, using humor in therapy groups and things like that. So as we're getting set up, like I said, feel free to ask questions. And I'd love to hear, for those of you that are here, put in the comments, what kind of group do you run, or what kind of group would you like to run, so that we can know what it is you're working on and how we can support you with that. All right, Audrey, tell us where you're at, what you're doing. You are accepted and connecting. So let me know, guys, for those of you who are here, what kind of group do you run, or what kind of group would you like to run? And let's start talking about it. Bess runs a DBT group. Yes, you do. You'll be talking about that later on in our group therapy gala. Hopefully we get these tech glitches figured out. You work mostly with teens. Who else is here with us, and what do you do? A teen art therapy group for Shannon. Awesome. By the time it's your turn, we'll all be pros for sure. Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully we will be. Audrey, what's going on for you? Jamie runs a teen and young adult college grief group, college sexual assault survivor group, and an adult domestic violence group. Wow, there are a lot of intense groups. I'd be curious to, am I interviewing you? Are you on my list? I'd really be curious to know about those groups. Gail runs a women of color support group. So important, especially in these times. I'm so glad that we have you. It's not recognizing your microphone. Eek. You have so much to say. Oh boy. All right. What should we do here? Should we reschedule or should we invite someone else on the screen to talk about their groups while we wait and have you figure this out? Audrey, maybe like adult mixed gender social anxiety. Love it, Teresa. Maybe refreshing your screen or closing your browser and trying again. Doing that now. Okay, cool. Jamie, do you want to come on screen and talk about your adult college grief group, your sexual assault survivor group, or your adult domestic violence group while Audrey's getting the pieces figured out? I'm so curious to know about them. Or Gail, do you want to talk about your women of color group? Or Teresa, do you want to talk about your social anxiety group? Somebody give me a thumbs up. Somebody come talk to me. I have nothing planned but to talk to you guys. So let's make this work. Who's willing to hop on up here? Okay, cool. Both of you. Awesome. Let's do both of you one at a time. Jamie, I'm going to invite you and see if it works for you. Okay. We'll just keep this up. We'll interview everybody, and then Teresa will talk to you next, and Audrey, hopefully you'll get set up and connected. Audrey, let us know when you're back since it's your scheduled time, and we'll talk to you too when you're ready in here. Jamie has accepted, so let's see what's going on there. Let's see if Jamie can get up on the screen. Yay, Jamie!
All right.
Hi.
Okay, now I have no idea what I'm talking about. So
I'm just going to ask you questions. Okay. I give you credit for being willing to do this on the fly.
Sure.
Yeah, see, Bess is giving you credit. All right, so tell us, like, I don't know you, and that's cool. Tell us a little bit about you and the groups that you run. This is all about just inspiring each other with ideas. So there's no, set structure.
All right, so I'll talk a little bit about my grief groups. That's kind of an interesting story, so I'll start there. So yeah. We had numerous 8th grade young men, 8th grade, 9th grade, commit suicide, die from suicide in our community. And so we had a host of kiddos really grieving at that point. And then we have a lot of colleges in our area. And so we had also some deaths by suicide that we had a lot of people grieving from. So I have a colleague at the college, and I specialize in grief counseling. And so we decided we should do something about that. So we just kind of went out on a whim. We gathered a collective from our community of people, like from hospice, people in the schools, because we really wanted to target this age group, and met with some people, and everybody thought it was a great idea. So we kind of have this board informally that helps us support it, and then it runs kind of through my private practice, some granting to a health agency that then runs the money a little bit, and we offered that group free. So we block off a day of courses for the high schoolers particularly, and then the college. We also have it for a full day, so it's a full 6-hour retreat group. I'm going to call it a group. It's a group, but it's just like in a big, it all runs at once.
Sure.
That's how we get people there. And we do a lot of integrated or holistic grief processing. So we do some educational stuff about grief, which is always really well received. People don't really talk about all the effects grief is going to have on you. And then we allow for some pretty deep processing when the group is able to go that way. But we also have it interspersed with art and with yoga. We invite a yoga teacher in, actually, who does some work. Music therapy, we've had some musicians come in and help people create some stuff. And I think there's some other ideas we've had, but those are the traditional. It would be the yoga, the art, and the music.
I love it. I mean, it's so needed. This is a recent suicide at a school in our community. So I love that you're providing something. Is it on an ongoing basis? How frequent is it happening for you?
We were doing it twice a year. Now we're about it once a year. And that seems to be a good pattern now. I'm in a small community. There's like 25,000 people. So that seems to be enough. And, now that's been running for quite a few years. It's a variety of different relationships of loss, and so people who've lost their parents or sibling, or it's really mixed now, whereas before it was focused on a certain group.
That's amazing. I mean, and just the idea of holding space and giving people permission to talk about their grief and to connect with each other over their experiences is something, like you said, that people don't do in their everyday lives. So having a place to creatively cope and let that out is necessary.
Sure. And the schools love it because we're providing something they can't necessarily provide. And so they bus the kiddos there, which is really great. So we make sure they get there. The counselors at the schools handle like the permission slips from the parents and informed consent and all those kind of things. So we created the forms, they get the forms, talk to the parents and get those in. So it's a good collaboration.
I love it. So it's not everybody from the school that goes, but certain people who decide, like they self-select and they sign up for it.
Yeah, exactly. They sort of self-select, but since they're high schoolers, they're also talked into it.
Sure.
So by parents or their friends, they can, bring their friends sometimes.
Awesome. So give us an idea, like what is one of your favorite activities that's been run through this group?
So, yoga is really well received. We weren't sure what that would be like, but the teenagers really love it. The college students too, but a lot of the teens really liked that even more so than we expected. So that was interesting. We do art usually around remembrance of the person, but sometimes an art around different emotions. And that's always really well received too. We actually change our art up from time to time just to kind of keep ourselves interested, I think. So
gosh, yeah.
Yeah, but usually real simple. I mean, just those like really simple, you could Google grief art activities and those are successful. So I think I thought that it would have to be more well thought out, and really, if you're there together, creating a good environment, the activities are pretty easy.
Right. And I found that it's not so much about the in-depth art activity, but using the art to facilitate interaction and discussion, which to me, that's what works in my groups and is different than like my art therapists who spend a whole session doing an art activity.
Right. Yep. I think you're right. Yeah. And they just like enjoy the process while they're kind of talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Music is always good for teenagers, and they usually bring their own music. We ask them to, that helps them through either a hard time or reminds them of the person they've lost. And then again, it's just some sharing. And
do you play the songs? I do a music group where I have everyone bring in a song and they play the song. And while one person's song is playing, everyone is drawing a picture, and then they hold up like how that picture represents their feelings about the song or their experience of it.
Oh, I love that. I'm totally going to steal that, because we do a lot of their art while they're playing their songs, but I love connecting the two. So
yeah. No, I think it can be cool. It's like a visual representation of what they're feeling as they're listening to the music. So they like that a lot. That's one of their favorite groups.
Yeah. My other two groups that I do consistently then are the sexual assault group on the campus. So that is harder to get up and going. We get referrals through the campus counselors, but sometimes I feel like the marketing on that sometimes isn't quite right. So that's a harder one to get going. But once it gets going, it's really powerful. It is a lot of skills. So we do a lot of like, what to do about your anger, and then some practical stuff around like what rights you have as a victim. So some education on that, but a lot of it I would say is actually directly from like DBT groups, but like, but really acknowledging this trauma that they've been through, and then really, but less processing the actual details of the event.
Okay. So you don't use a set curriculum. Like I used to work at a domestic violence center, and we use the trauma empowerment and recovery curriculum. You kind of pull from different resources.
I'll write it down. I do model mine after one that's called, I think, the Courage Group, and it was actually used for veterans who have been sexually assaulted in the military. So it's kind of modeled after that and then adjusted here and there. But they pulled through numerous resources, including DBT, and I had done DBT group in a previous job, so I kind of used some of those.
Nice. Yeah. Awesome. I appreciate you having the courage today to just hop on live. Give us your top tip for running groups, or your favorite thing about running groups. Just wrap it up for us in a neat little bow.
Well, I mean, the favorite thing is that they can like empower each other and feel stronger together, right? Like that is definitely, when that happens, it's pretty magical when they feel connected in that way, where they're giving the feedback to each other and really strengthening each other. And I could just feel sort of like a proud mama. So, yeah.
I love that. And that's kind of like when I finish my groups for the night, I call it the group buzz, like that just feeling of connection and support and the whatever interconnectedness that they have and the feedback they give each other. Like I leave kind of with that proud mama feel, but more of like this feeling of like the world makes sense because people are supporting each other and they're not weird, bad, wrong, or different for feeling the way they do. They've come together and they're sharing this experience and holding the space for each other. So yeah. It all makes sense.
Well, thanks for all that you do. I have more groups planned and I'm learning how to market them a little bit. So I'm in one of your courses and do some things on there, and that helps me with my internet part because I get really nervous about that. So thank you.
Well, you've been great live. I think that you should go do some lives on your Facebook page and talk about your groups and
awesome.
Some more groups. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to close you out, and I appreciate you and what you do. Beth says, great job. Teresa, did you want to talk briefly before we wrap up for today? I think we're going to have to reschedule Audrey, and we reschedule. I'll send dates. Anyone else want to hop on before we wrap up? You guys have been awesome. I appreciate you all for being here. This is a process, right? So we're learning how to work together. We're learning how to use new resources. We're learning how to be vulnerable. And I think that's what groups are all about. So you are my virtual group, right? That we can, come together and things don't always have to work and they can still work at the same time. So let me just tell you what's in store. On Thursday, we're actually talking to Julie Hartman, and she also runs groups about anxiety, but she runs tons of groups through her center. She has a really successful center in California, and she's going to tell us about some of her groups for kids. She has like an after school program that she's created for kids that's really cool. So that'll be cool to hear about. Let me see who's my other one. Judith was supposed to talk to us about her grief group, but I think that she had a conflict. So maybe we can reschedule Audrey at that time. Audrey, I'll reach out to you personally. Oh, you said you're back. Okay, let's try. All right, I invited you. You're accepted and you're connecting. We'll see. And if not, we'll reschedule. But just to keep you in the know that we will be hearing about some after school group programs on Thursday. And there will be replays of all of these. So if you feel like you missed something or you want to go back through and you want to just kind of sift through what are the things that inspired you or what are the things that you want to learn more about, you can go back through and watch them all. They'll be up until the 20th when the cart closes for the group CE course. Okay, Audrey's saying she's still having difficulties. So we're going to reschedule. Any final questions about group activities or group process that I can answer for you today before we wrap up? I appreciate you all being here and taking the time. I know you all have busy schedules, and then it's frustrating when things don't always work, but we got a little bonus interview in, which I think was awesome as well. Okay. So I will see you all on Thursday for the next training. We'll be talking to Julie Hartman. She'll be talking about her after school program and some of the cool groups that she does. If you're interested in the CE course, it's 6 continuing education credits for $97. Cart closes on October 20th and then it goes away. So go ahead and click the green button if you feel like that's something you want to check out. You can see the full curriculum and see if it works for you. All right. I love you guys a lot, and I'll see you on Thursday. Bye.